The paper written by Mr. Shobit Kapoor and Vikram Purohit, and presentation will be made by Mr. Vikram Purohit. Mr. Purohit is a ship recycling specialist in Lloyd's Register. He has over 10 years of experience in carrying out MEC surveys and marine existing ship consultancy with a focus on ship recycling services. He has been part of various dry docks and major repair works. He is MSc in Maritime Operations and Management from City University of London. The paper, what he is going to present is, it elaborates the need and necessity of implementation of a, the challenges, basically the challenges faced by ship recycling industry in India and suggests measures for improvement. The paper also compares the various statutory or the regulatory requirements like IMO Hong Kong Convention, the EU Ship Recycling Regulation, as well as the Indian Shipbreaking Code. And also finally, he suggests the need for policy and funding support for improving ship recycling yards. So let us hear from Mr. Vikram Purohit. Please carry on.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vikram Purohit. I am here to give a brief presentation on sustainable growth of ship recycling capacity in India. I have been working at Lloyd's Register as a ship recycling specialist. And as Sir just said, whenever people think of ship breaking or ship scrapping, it is more or less considered as an end-of-life activity. But hopefully after this presentation, we can think of it as a new beginning, because most of the materials used, they are recycled. And so that is one small takeaway, that it is an end-of-life activity and also a new beginning. To start off with, as most of you know, India is the world's largest, the second largest producer of crude steel. We are also one of the biggest importers. We're just behind China. And India's steel industry is expected to grow exponentially. Accordingly, the carbon footprint is also expected to increase as the demand soars. Increasingly, we will have to look for solutions to find out how to produce green steel or net zero steel. Net zero steel is basically steel produced with least carbon emissions. So it is a global concept, and all industries are working towards it. Global ship recycling volumes are set to nearly double by 2028 and quadruple by 2033. This is information we've received from Clarksons and other societies. So we have to find solutions for basically recycling bigger size vessels, post-Panamax vessels. We still, if you look at the EU approved recycling yard list, there are only six or seven recycling yards which can handle Panamax vessels, and now we are talking about post-Panamax vessels. So the solution has to be either India, Southeast Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Technology and regulatory solutions are needed to address some of the challenges we are facing. Basically, when we talk about a circular economy, it is the 4R concept. You have to reduce, reuse, refurbish, and recycle. If a layman were to ask me how much of, what is the percentages of a normal vessel which is recycled, so I would say 80% of steel is recycled, 15% it is machinery, possibly less than 5% of other materials, and 1% hazardous material. So we see in Alang, it is the true description of a circular economy, Alang in Bhavnagar, where Indian recycling takes place. So it is in practicality a true circular economy. So in today's paper, we are basically focusing on a few areas like the regulatory requirements, gap assessment from an HKC and EU SRR compliance perspective, and possible solutions to meet the requirements of doubling the ship recycling capacity in the next 5 years. Uh, Global and Indian regulatory framework for ship recycling. The two main instruments are the IMO Hong Kong Convention and the EU SRR. If you look at existing ships, shipbuilding, the four pillars of IMO are the MARPOL, SOLAS, STCW Convention, and MLC. So you can think of HKC and EU SRR as something similar. In 2006, recycling of cruise liner SS Norway, which was later named as Blue Lady at Alang, got attention, and this matter was listed in the Supreme Court. There was a high amount of asbestos which was on board the vessel and which necessitated this committee. The Supreme Court constituted an expert committee, and the Shipbreaking Code 2013 came into force. The as it is called, the SBC 2013 was modeled on the then adopted Hong Kong Convention. India is one of the only recycling countries which has recently acceded to the Hong Kong Convention and also formulated the Recycling of Ships Act 2019, which covers most of the things, most of the regulations from the Shipbreaking Code 2013. And I'm very proud to say that we assisted in some small way in formulating these regulations. The challenges and improvements related to the Shipbreaking Code and the Recycling of Ship Act. These acts are comprehensively drafted. However, we still have to work on provisions that they are actually implemented on ground. I've been working with the recycling yards for the past 3-4 years, and we are still trying to find solutions so that these provisions are actually implemented on ground and not just on paper. The present provisions of the Shipbreaking Code and the Recycling of Ship Act leave important and complex points to the discretion of the inspectors, and there is a heavy responsibility on them because it is a different and a complex field, ship recycling. It is a high-risk work environment. Indian administration has incorporated some prescriptive requirements of EU SRR in the Recycling of Ships Act related to downstream waste management for PFOS and HBCGD. These are hazardous materials. And the last point related to some improvements in these acts are related to procedural safeguards in which the inspections of recycling yards are conducted. This is one area which we think is very critical, and to exert some sort of control on the yards and to ensure that the provisions of these codes are followed. So I've just added some pictures to this presentation. This was Alang in 2009 towards 2014. So you don't have to be a HSE expert to see that there are issues which we worked on gradually over years. And these are some of the improvements, and these are some of the recent pictures of Alang. As you see, this is comparatively a very short time from 2009 to 2020. And as an industry as a whole, Alang is improving. There is a long way to go, but we are trying to assist in the improvement of HEC standards. As you see, there are heavy lift cranes, winches, impermeable floors, drainage, and a lot of improvements have been made by recycling yards. Of course, there are some differences. Some yards are better, some yards are improving. Gradually, we hope that all yards reach a standard level. These are some of the pictures of trainings which have been carried out. GMB, Gujarat Maritime Board, has an in-house training department, and they carry internal trainings also. And most of the yards, they also have external training units coming and training the yard workers. For example, PentaSafe, who train workers for working at height, etc. And these we during our inspections, we ensure that these trainings are carried out in the true sense, and there is a lot of improvement. Now coming to the second point of the gap assessment for with relation to the EU SRR. Basically, the EU, as per the EU auditors, more or less 2 to 3 yards are generally acceptable to EU standards, except for some small points related to trauma centers and handling disposal of downstream waste management. India is making progress through upgrades to hospital and improvements in compliance and verification processes for handling hazardous materials. Lloyd's Register as a class, we are working with industry experts in finding solutions to these challenges. And hopefully, at least we don't see a showstopper as of now. And hopefully we are trying to ensure that we have a few yards who are on the EU list in the near future. Currently, this was a presentation prepared previously. These figures have further gone down. About 48% of capacity at Halang is lying idle. Possibly as of now, as we speak, it is closer to 70 or 80%. There has been a steady decline in the number of ships coming for dismantling. We are working with the Gujarat Maritime Board and the recycling owners to find out more sustainable solutions and improve the standards so we get more tonnage and hopefully these numbers go up. To double the recycling, that is the end goal, that is the target, to double the recycling output. India will need to get tonnage from other areas as well as hopefully EU tonnage, which will possibly help for this goal of doubling the recycling output. And the conclusion to sum up is we need collaboration between different government authorities, ship recycling yards, and industry experts. Also, classification societies play a very important role in this because we are the center of all the activities and we help with the spread of information and collaboration. HSE, circular economy principle, compliance and finance are essential factors for sustainable recycling. We won't be able to proceed without a proper business plan. Some of the improvements which can be done are that operating costs can be reduced by using a larger plot size and upgrading common facilities like the TSDF facility currently in Alang, Chepil, and the medical facilities. So some of the smaller steps Lloyd's Register has taken is we did a gap assessment of the medical facilities in Alang, and we need an implementation plan. Hopefully, once steps are taken towards the implementation plan, some of these challenges will be achieved. Policies related to cluster formation and infrastructure development are needed. We are working towards it, and hopefully in some time we will have some more output. That is it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Vikram Purohit, for enlightening us on the various activities happening at Alang, and remarkable improvement you can see from the photographs. It is quite impressive. And still things are to be done, but there are issues being addressed by everybody. Now we have another presentation on recycling by Rohit Agarwal. He is the CEO of the Guideship Consulting Services. In fact, he is a consultant on shipbreaking industry, and his managerial and problem-solving abilities have helped to maneuver the shipbreaking yards into the direction of sustainability. He also has taken the honors of advocating for such eco-friendly practices through frequent and relevant social media engagement, alongside maintaining an open channel for discourse with various industry stakeholders. I believe the the shipbreaking yards in India, especially Alang, would be interested in taking his help for further improvement. And in this presentation, he will be giving a complete overview of recycling activities and how improvements can be made, especially towards the sustainable ship recycling approach. Let us hear from Mr. Rohit Agarwal, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, leaders of the delegation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Ship recycling in India is shedding its old-fashioned image and becoming a truly green industry. Improved ship recycling practices have become the norm and not the expectations. Okay. Is it okay? India's accession to the Hong Kong Convention and passing of the Ship Recycling Act is an hallmark moment in the Indian maritime history. There are various regulations, but the motive of all is one and the same. We will discuss the technical conditions required for a ship recycling facility to operate. The ship recycling yards are properly arranged, taking into consideration the specific functions of dismantling areas, warehouse, office, workshops, etc. The zone is normally divided into the primary cutting areas, the secondary cutting area, the finishing area, sorting, and the storage areas. The ship recycling yard keeps in good condition the facilities and equipments like the mooring arrangements, cranes and heavy equipments, wastewater control system, the soil control, the waste disposal facilities, hazardous material storage facility,